I'm Christopher Keller, speech and communications teacher, activities co-director, leadership 9 teacher, language arts 10 teacher, and strategy games club advisor at Liberty High School.
Hi, I'm Rachel Panishiakarn. I am the special education department coordinator this year, and I'm the grade 10 case manager / student support.
So I think one of the things in special education, hey, you're the special ed case manager, you know all the things, my hands are tied, I'm off the hook, right?
Right, which is a common misunderstanding, I think, in our daily practice between gen ed and special ed supports that we provide students. But really what we can do is work together and make sure that we're both accountable for providing the supports in your classroom. We've really tried hard to focus on balance, and by balance I mean a lot of different things. So balancing student schedules, balancing our time working with students directly or working with teachers directly, either in class, during class time, or in PLCs. The PLC push-in type stuff that case managers have been trying to aim towards has really helped in case managers working with general ed teachers to include supports that maybe they didn't think of in the first place because reading an IEP and implementing an IEP might not be their specialty.
That is, you're not wrong with that. It took me years before I had even an idea OHI, ED.
Since we went to our model of grade level teams, everything has been a collaborative team approach to student support in the general ed classroom as a first approach.
Yes, I like that as a first approach. It's not how do we attach this to gen ed. It's our students are our students. Let's make sure we're serving them. I have a student who communicates primarily with is it a tablet, a touch?
It might be a touchpad.
A touchpad, I think that's what it is. And he was in my communications class, and I have 38 kids in a communications class, and with this student were multiple support staff, and so we had this huge room of 38, well, it's not a huge room, it's a huge class, 38 kids, 4 adults, and lo and behold, when it came time for speeches, he was able to plan it with me and with the other support staff, what he wanted to talk about, and he queued up his touchpad to be able to talk about it, got him in front of the whole class, gave a speech through the touchpad, and the class sat, watched. When he was finished, they clapped, gave him feedback, and it was an awesome experience, and it was something that would have never happened. That's what solidified my belief in the inclusion model, is just seeing a student, when given access to a general ed curriculum and supports and scaffolding to help reach their individual learning goals, how there's no other way. It was incredibly successful. Yeah. And that was just one standout case, because it seemed like on paper that would seem like an insurmountable task, right? Only communicating primarily through a touchpad, lots of adults in the room, already a huge class. But the inclusion model is the first line of support, the first strategy. We got to show up for the kids. We got to make it work. And when we work together, we can do awesome stuff.
Yeah.
They're gonna add. She's gonna edit that, and that'll be put at the very end for whatever we talk about afterwards.
Well, I like to call it flipping the script, because I don't know, a couple years ago, even before we tried the grade level inclusion model, it was opposite. We figured out how to push kids into general ed classes, but now we've flipped it, and kids are in general ed classes, and then we figure out how to best support everyone in the class. So it's not a figure out the supports later, it's every kid belongs in every class, and then how do we support that together.
That's like the UDL
Yep.
stuff, right? Well, like how is UDL different than differentiation, or is it different than differentiation? And what does UDL stand for?
Universal Design for Learning.
Okay, right.
So, in summary, I guess, Universal Design for Learning is simply just designing for the extreme needs in your class, knowing that if you support the extreme needs in your class, everyone will get support because you're offering that support to everyone, rather than designing your class for what you consider quote-unquote the average student and then having to add in the supports for more severe needs later.
Because there is no average student.
Right, that's right, exactly.
There's that. There's the one
TED
that
Talk
video about the fighter pilot.
Yeah.
Seats.
Myth of the average. That's a TED Talk. Myth of the average.
For some extended learning. No, it was like a game changer when I watched that. There's a couple TED Talks. That one, on being wrong by Schultz. That one was it's not really the UDL, but I guess it's sometimes like our narratives about teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Like we believe our experience is right and true, and like sometimes we have blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
Mistakes happen, right? Like we can't just say we're going to use universal design for learning,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to include all students, use an inclusion model, and then all of a sudden we're going to have enough in classroom support. Support professionals and teachers are going to magically have differentiated lessons for every single unit. It's a lot of work. It's difficult work.
It is.
It's way easier to teach to an imaginary middle.
It is. I think too, sort of this barrier that I have to hit this bar to be a teacher who provides rigorous instruction in my class, using the buzzwords that we receive in our professional development every month.
And usually for good reason, right?
For good reason. However, that can sometimes pull us away from the philosophy of inclusion because it feels conflicting. So that team approach is where the work happens, so that you're not carrying it all yourself. So it's a team effort. You carry that responsibility together, and sometimes in doing that, you find that you can take one thing off your plate because the new work that you're doing covers what you used to do.
So less reteaching because more kids are learning it the first time?
That's one example,
Sure.
Sure.
We've had a lot of success at Liberty because a lot of times our PLC time is protected and we get common preps, and our special ed department teachers come in and they help us workshop lessons, identify potential issues. I mean, we're definitely not perfect by any stretch of the word, but it's good. It's good to feel like you're doing the work, and it's even better when kids learn stuff because of it.
Yeah, since we've gone to this model, I think I haven't talked to many people that aren't surprised by something in a positive way. I used to think fill in the blank, and now I see that if we have a little trust and trust each other and try something new or maybe take a risk, we really can provide more opportunities for students rather than expecting kids to meet a certain standard before they have access to every class on the master schedule.
Yeah, scheduling is a big thing.
It is.
Especially, I think that now is a good time to really unpack this, because lots of kids have had different access to education the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So really, a universal design with multiple entry points for learning and rigor, as in expecting kids to do the best that they can, rather than an arbitrary here's the bar for how many kids should succeed and how many kids should fail as a measure of my teaching.
you've made a lot of good points, and we could probably talk about this for hours.
Oh, but you want to stop recording.
But it's time to stop recording so that you all can think about it.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us on this coffee chat. We should have.
We hope you're enjoying your coffee.
Yeah. Cheers.